Hi, my name is April Hoffbauer, the Candidate Experience Manager here at GitLab. And today I'll be talking with our CEO about the Chief of Staff position. Sid, can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks. I'm Sid, co-founder CEO at GitLab.
Perfect. So this role reports directly to the CEO, so I thought it would be great to ask you, Sid, some questions about it. So the first question is, why is now the perfect time to have a Chief of Staff?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm not sure that maybe we should have had a chief of staff last year as well. I'm not sure it's the perfect time. Maybe we were too late, um, but it's certainly a good time. I have more and more tasks that I'm not able to attend to, and mostly it's things that require a bit of follow-up. For example, today I want to do a total addressable market calculation, and I'm missing some data, and I just don't have the half an hour to go through that. And there's lots of those type of things. Some very small, like making a small edit. Some very large, like following up on a complex project. And I think a chief of staff would really be able to lead those things to a good conclusion.
And so is that really the gap that this person is going to fill for you, is the amount of time that you're able to have in a day?
Yeah, I think I'll closely partner with this person, and I think the idea is that together we can do almost twice the work that I would be able to do by myself. The chief of staff would attend meetings in kind of my name, and then be able to filter out the things that aren't relevant, and for the interesting things, even sometimes add some context, do some thinking, and then present that maybe with a proposal.
Okay. In this role, we have said that we expect it to be on a rotational program where the person is in the position for approximately 15 to 18 months. How firm is that 15 to 18 months?
It's not firm. Uh, if it's a year, then so be it. If it ends up being 2 years, that's fine too. I want to set the expectation of a rotation because there's directed work involved. So some of the work is where is less directive, where there's a lot of freedom, where there's a more abstract assignment, and there's a lot of kind of self-directedness. But there's a part of this job is also directed work, which is short, one-off, kind of simple work that's kind of tedious. And I think as long as someone's learning really rapidly, so long as someone has a lot of new things that they're learning on the job, I think that's a worthwhile trade-off to also have this directed work. We're looking for someone really bright, really intelligent, with a lot of potential. And this person is only going to accept that directed work if there's something that compensates that, which is learning a lot on the job. But I think as you're here longer, after a year or 1.5 years, that learning will start to flatten off. And I think that's a great time to move on to a leadership role at GitLab and start having that full autonomy again.
Yeah. So what kind of projects do you think the chief of staff will work on, especially as this is the first time we're going to fill this position?
Yeah, it depends a bit. Sometimes it might be an acquisition. Sometimes it might be collaborating with a team, with a partner. It might be solving an acute problem, doing an analysis. There's a whole lot of kind of different projects, doing a reorganization of our handbook to make it more accessible, or focus on a priority. For example, today we talked about how GitLab could be a great employer for people whose spouses work in the military, and we said that a couple of times, but nobody ever did anything. So making a first dent at that, and then seeing if that's a worthwhile thing to pursue, and then if that first initiative is a success, our recruiting team can probably take that over. But we need to start somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. How will the Chief of Staff help prepare for our initial public offering, which is scheduled for next year, if at all?
Yeah. So we have the ambition to become a public company, November 18, 2020. Not necessarily an IPO, might also be a direct listing. There's a lot of things that we have to get right before that. There's a lot of compliance work. We have people for that, but maybe there's something to do. There's a lot of predictability work. We have people working on that. Maybe there's something to do. There's a lot of explaining what the company does, how we do it, why this is an interesting opportunity. We have people working on that, but maybe there's something to do. So I think as we get closer, we're going to find that we're behind in certain areas and see the chief of staff as kind of a person who can like accelerate things that have fallen behind schedule.
Awesome. So earlier you mentioned that this position after the rotational period would transition into some other leadership position at GitLab, which is the intended result. What positions do you see them transitioning to? One of the suggestions was maybe a chief operating officer, but have you thought about that at all yet?
Yeah, at GitLab, we don't have and don't foresee to have a chief operating officer. And I think the chief of staff will be missing the functional experience in order to have like an executive position. But it's possible that that there's that the person gets hired afterwards in a senior leadership position, so reporting to one of our executives.
Okay. And would the chief of staff position be considered to be part of the executive team? They report directly into you, but are they on that same level?
Yes.
Okay. And one of the questions we got from an internal GitLabber was, how will the stock option vesting work for this role? As our traditional vesting schedule is over 4 years, but this is a rotational that would be probably 18 months.
Yeah, it would be the same vesting schedule. So suppose there's no senior position available, or I assume there will be senior position available. I think the biggest risk is someone not taking it. But anyway, if employment ends after 18 months, they would have vested only 1.5 out of the 4 years and have the corresponding amount of stock.
Okay. Do you see the 18-month rotational period for the chief of staff role used as a case study for potentially enabling further programs to be built upon that rotational schedule?
Oh, that's interesting. So we currently have the CEO Shadow program, and there's been talk to have a Shadow program also per function. So you could see the same thing with a chief of staff. I think the advantage I have a very unique position where I have many different functions reporting to me. So the CEO position is the only position where that happens. And I think therefore it's a lot of fun to shadow me and interesting. I think therefore it's also interesting to be a chief of staff. So although I could see the need for like extra brains and extra an ability to achieve more in other parts of the company, I'm not sure it translates because this is a very multidisciplinary role. And as soon as you go into a function, there's less of that.
Yeah. So GitLab is a fully distributed workforce. We all work remotely. However, you're generally located in San Francisco, and we have put the requirement that this position needs to be based out of San Francisco so that they can attend in-person meetings or attend meetings on your behalf. For people who don't currently live in San Francisco, can they still apply? And if they get the location or get the position, will they be given relocation assistance?
That's a good question. So they can certainly still apply if they're open to moving. I'm not sure about relocation assistance. I don't think we've ever done that. but we have very few roles that require you to be in San Francisco. Basically, the CEO position, dispositions are the only ones. So I think right now we're not anticipating on giving relocation assistance. I think that would be the answer for now.
Okay, awesome. Well, that's all the questions I have today. I recommend anybody watching this video to check out our jobs page to see if the role is currently open. And thanks, Sid, for your time. I appreciate it.
Thanks, April, for the interview and the questions. Appreciate it.
Bye.